Today we have Namita talking about
The kids are being taught these days, do not talk to strangers.
older children end up offering
Correct.
adulterated
I get it.
sweets, adulterated with drugs,
Correct.
very frankly.
First trek I did was Har Ki Doon. I was in 6th standard for the first time.
Wow.
That was a 10-day trek. I went alone. I was the youngest one. I could challenge myself, I could say that, because it's a strenuous sport.
Hi Namita.
Hi, Shobna.
So today on Zen But Not Calm, we have this fascinating mom, Namita. So Namita, why don't you please introduce yourself today?
Thank you for inviting me, Shobna. It's such a lovely podcast that you're doing, right? Hi, moms. I'm Namita, and my introduction will be short. I am ex-profession. By ex-profession, I'm a management consultant. By profession, I'm a stock trader right now, and a mother to a beautiful daughter. And by passion, I'm a mountaineer. It's been really long that I haven't done anything, but yes, by passion, I'm a mountaineer.
Beautiful. And so you have a lovely daughter, Ruhi, as you mentioned. So can you tell a little bit about Ruhi?
Sure. She has just turned 5 years old. She is a curious child, a very empathetic child. She'll cry if she sees someone falling, and if somebody is crying, she'll say, okay, let me go, let me say, don't cry. So she's a very empathetic child, I will say that. That is something I have learned from her.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes. So curious, bundle of joy, I would say. She has a lot of friends. In fact, because of her, I have made friends. Otherwise, I knew no one, not even you. Not even you.
Very true. Very
because
true. Yeah.
of Ruhi, I met Yuvan, and then
Hence, in extension, you met me. Which is very true, right? In
Correct.
today's age and stage, and the fact that we are all so busy in our own lives, and especially when it comes to work and before motherhood, we are so absorbed with that life
Correct.
that it takes us a lot more effort to step out of that bubble and meet new people. But
Right.
thanks to our children,
Correct.
that bubble is long lost.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Now I have friends from her daycare, ex-daycare. Then I have friends from her current school. Also from the building, whosoever I see, I tend to say hi to the
Hi,
kids
right.
because I have, or of this similar age group, as well as the younger kids as well. And hence I know other moms as well. So now I have my own set of circle, thanks to her. Otherwise, I had no one. Bangalore was completely new to me.
Right.
Right. And I knew nobody. I had no circle.
That's a very fair point, right? Of course, we have also been social at some point, but eventually moved to being a tad bit more reserved because we've got busy with so many things, and there
Correct.
should be a reason to start talking to someone. But there is a point after which we have to be the example for our children too. So if we
Correct.
start opening up to other mothers, at that point our child sees that as a lesson or as a reflection point, and then decides that they take that as, they absorb that aspect as well, and they start becoming more social. Do you believe in that?
I do, because I remember Ruhi is a very reserved child as well.
Okay.
So as most of the child of this age, 5 years of,
True.
or 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
of age, she would never say hi or bye to anyone, not even to her father. I mean, for that matter. Oh yes, she will not say. We'll keep on saying bye, Ruhi. He will keep on saying bye, and her dadu also. She would never respond. But thankfully, in 3-4 months, I have seen some changes in her. And whereas I see that in the lift, if somebody says, hello, how are you, sweetie? Are you going to the school? You
Right.
look very pretty. Then she would respond, at least by saying
Matlab
thank
ki
you.
baat hai. You said I'm pretty, I might say thank you to that.
Yeah, I mean, but otherwise also, okay, what have you done? Who bought you this? If she's carrying some toy, then my dadu or my papa, or my
Right.
nanu, something like that. So little here, there, which I might think she might be picking from me, because she spends her most of the time with me,
you.
or I would say I spend most of my time
with her.
So vice versa. And I try to make contact with people in the lift, or otherwise just say hi kiddo, what are you are
Right.
lovely, and small tips
Right.
and bits here
Right.
and there.
And then she sees that other children are responding, so it's
Correct.
fair for her to start responding to people who ask similar questions as well. So if the person is a tad bit more engaging, and it's not
Correct.
just a simple hi, it's a little bit more
More.
deeper conversation that they tap on some aspect that is close to her heart,
Correct.
she will be motivated to answer as well. So I think the people, she's meeting the right kind of grown-ups as well now, I guess.
I guess so. Absolutely, absolutely. There was one, I would say, a senior citizen in them, and it was heartening to see him talking. Right, he was asking some very relevant questions from her in the lift of like from first to 16th floor, and she responded. I was amazed because we have been taught, or rather, the kids are being taught these days, do not talk to strangers. That is one thing that we have been teaching to our kids. I think somewhere there is a thin line between them, complete stranger or every day you are seeing the person and you can say at least have some little conversation. But yes, I think we are making them more reserved in the sense, do not talk to stranger at all.
That's a very relevant point. We're talking about strangers and you're bringing up a girl, right?
Yes.
And I would say there is not much of a difference today bringing up a boy or a girl when it comes to the whole stranger anxiety that we ourselves are suffering from.
Correct.
Forget the children. They are absorbing from us, I would say. Very strongly.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's tap on the parent side of thinking here. Of course, when we are looking at all the news around us and we hear so much that happens with children who trust strangers. There was a time and age when we were younger and it would be rude to not say hello to
any uncle. Anybody is an uncle and an auntie.
It's
or a dadu.
Yeah,
it's a dadi.
Correct. Anybody today in any kind of age and stage sometimes wants to showcase that care and that pampering or that love towards these children. We hear so much of the news around us where we don't know how to differentiate between that love being a genuine care versus something beyond. Right? It is a big fear in us today.
Yes.
So how do you navigate that?
So what I have been telling her, that if you are with mom or a papa or a dadu or an aunt, like whom you trust, okay?
Right.
And if you meet a stranger, it's okay. And if they start communicating with the other person, or even if they do not communicate, but you are with someone whom you trust, it's okay to trust the other person or start a conversation.
Fair enough. Right.
So I don't say that, okay, go talk to a stranger even if no one is around. That is something I do not encourage at all. And I do not want to encourage. I mean, we never know, right? What could be the outcome, right? Outcome can be anything.
Right. So, I mean, as much as we want to trust, we are also scared for our children, or fear for our children. So why? Yes.
Why? So I do not want to take the chance.
Fair enough.
Correct.
Yeah.
But so I encourage that if you are being accompanied by a teacher or by someone you know
or
beforehand, or you trust
beforehand,
right? Trust is a very important factor here. So it's okay to respond to the stranger as well. And but yes, I don't say that you take anything from the stranger. So she makes a point, she looks at me. Okay, like,
what do you think?
Like, she'll be like then I'll say okay, fine, and then she will take. So this is a thin line, I'll say that, which has been inculcated from the beginning, from the teachers, from the school itself, from the daycare, and from us as well, that do not take anything, especially to be eaten or drinking part. But it's okay to have conversation.
Fair enough. And I think even the taking, because they do get, as children, you can't help but see them getting tempted the moment they see a person distributing chocolates.
Correct.
And then so many other children are taking it and we have restricted them. They are in a very confused state of mind. So they look at you and you're also like, okay, I want to say no, but I can't say no, because
other kids are taking it.
So I tell my older kid as well. What I tell him is, and because now he also goes out on his own. There was a time with Yuvan, the younger one, I would tell him that, while I'm with you, it's fine. So this works for the time that they are looking at you and they get that response and then they, look back. Now, for the older one, because he spends his day on his own most of the time, there are also friends or friends or extensions here and there that are offering him something to maybe consume or eat. So I just simply tell him, okay, if this person is somebody you truly trust, like really close friends, maybe yes. But if it's an extension, if it's coming from a friend's friend or anybody beyond that extension, and frankly, I've spoken to him in length even about the situations that happen today in the world where older children end up offering adulterated sweets, adulterated with drugs.
Correct.
Very frankly,
Very
you know.
frankly.
So these are the scenarios which do rounds today, and you have these young children who get addicted to it because they don't even know what they are consuming.
Correct.
You know, so there are two things that I tell my older one. I tell him, one, first of all, you take if there is somebody offering you something and you don't feel the heart to say no, accept it, but put it in your pocket.
Correct.
Don't consume it there.
Don't consume it there.
Bring it home and probably show it to us. And we also don't know, right? How do we know any better? It's a chocolate, right?
It's a chocolate. It can be adulterated.
Who knows? But these children don't know how they would respond if it is genuinely a drug mixed in it. So I tell him, if you do want to experiment with this chocolate and you want to do it at home,
correct.
This is a place where if you're feeling something off, you tell us and we are your safe space, you know. So we are right here to protect you, take care of you, maybe rush you to an emergency if ever needed. You know, you never know what situation it might lead to. And if even then, let's say it comes from a trusted source and you have consumed it, and at any point you feel something is moving towards being off, immediately come home. Again, you know, so or call me.
Space for everyone. Yes.
Or call me, you know, and I can guide you with what to do next. You know, some aspect of it that I'm made aware of, that you have had something that I should immediately pass my attention to you.
Correct.
So these are the two things I tell him today.
The situation will definitely come.
Exactly.
Because my daughter is just 5 and she looks up to me for everything, for every decision right now. But yes, now she's trying things on her own.
She's in that transition.
She's trying, you know, very little things. You know, I want to open this box. I want to wear the clothes on my own or remove clothes on my own. Very little, you know,
those aspects are coming.
I'm very sure not so, you know, it's far away that she will definitely say, I want to go on my own. And I will have to ensure that she's safe, but let go.
Let go. You have to. I mean, we can't always be with them 24/7. So I keep telling my son that, you know, I can't be with you 24/7. So you have to take up independence, and with independence comes that power of responsibility and, you know, all those major dialogues.
Major dialogues that our parents have been telling us since forever, and I still get to hear that. My father has been a very, I'll say, restrictive.
Okay.
So I always had that fear, you know, of unknown, and still date I have that. I think it definitely passes on to you, because any change, I'll be so uncomfortable. I don't want a change. I do not. And Shantanu, on the other hand, like, let's change this, let's change place, and, you know, let's change this, and I'm like, why can't we have some stability?
So you challenge each other.
Oh yes, we challenge each other
and balance each other in a way.
He'll keep on hopping from one place to another. Bangalore, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Gurgaon. You know, we keep on hopping, and within Gurgaon also we hopped like 4 places in 8 years of marriage. That was like horrible. I would say that for me, but for him it was like, hey, it's new house. See.
New people, new house, yay!
Yes,
and you're like, new people, new house.
Oh my God, seriously. But now, thankfully, we are here for last 3 years, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God,
we are finally stable. So, I'm going to tap on one interesting aspect first. You mentioned that you started mountaineering as a part of your hobby. So, when did you begin this?
I would say my father introduced me. I think it's your parents play a major role in what you actually do. Okay. I think at least at the early age, if they introduce you to that. So my father was with EIL, Engineers India Limited. It's a PSU in Delhi, and employees had formed a trekking group. And as part of that trekking group, every summer holidays they would take kids for a 10-day trek.
Wow.
I know. I mean, it sounds amazing, because at that time, nobody would have even thought about trekking or mountaineering for that matter. I'm a Jat. So for us, athletics, sports come first, then
other aspects
of life, right? So for that matter, my father, I'm truly thankful to him. He introduced me to the world of mountains and trekking when nobody was aware of it. Okay. But thanks to my father, I did trek. First trek I did was Har Ki Doon. I don't know if people are aware of Har Ki Doon or not, I'm sure. But now it looks completely different. What I saw it when I went there, I was in 6th standard for the first time.
Wow.
That was a 10-day trek. I went alone. I was the youngest one. I had a small diary. And my father did not even give me money, okay, to spend anywhere. It was a 10-day trek. He gave it to one of the uncles who was going, the employees,
Understood.
his friends. And he did not even tell I have given. And I'm like, you know, I have nothing to spend. And I was the youngest, and I felt quite lonely because most of the, I would say, bhaiyas and didis were around 18, 20.
Wow. Okay.
And but competition, I think kids can never come over competition.
So a 6th grader was competing against 18-year-old kids.
Oh yes. I'll be like, मुझे तो सबसे आगे रहना है. I was like that, you know. I would just pack my bag.
Right.
I had the, I'll say, the lightest bag.
Right.
Thanks to my father again. He gave me just 2 pairs of everything. Okay. For 10 days, he gave me just 2 pairs of everything. He packed it for me.
Right.
And just one for wearing and one for changing while you reach a place.
Right.
And that's about it. Okay. So I had the lightest. And I would just climb. And by the way, it's not as if we had proper gear, proper shoes. It was the sports shoes that we wore at that time. And no trek pants, nothing. I remember I was wearing plazos, okay? That's what I had in 6th grade. I was wearing plazos, and that's how I was climbing up and up. And Har Ki Doon is one of the difficult treks. Yeah, it's a high altitude trek. It's a difficult trek. But I still vividly remember the last final campsite. It was near the river. We had a Maggie there in that cold water. We washed our plates and hands and mouth and like, okay. But and it was a full moon. It was like bright light, so lovely. I'm getting goosebumps, okay? Just thinking about it. Can you see my goosebumps?
I can, yes.
Just thinking about it. It was so surreal, I would say. And the next morning, those glaciers, Swargini, I think that's the name of the glaciers. It was right next to our campsite. Right. I think just 15 minutes walk. Now they have receded way far, okay?
Got it.
You can't even reach them. But at that time, they were very close by. And we had the plastic mats for saving ourselves from the rain.
Got it.
Now you get raincoats and everything. But at that time, yes, now you get
everything.
Everything. Yeah, but that time, it was a plastic sheet that we had to save ourselves from the rain. So one uncle stood on the top slightly, and one uncle stood at the bottom, and we climbed up, and we just glided down while keeping our plastics. And we had a gola there. They took fruity and chana and gur. That was our like meal, and all of us just relished it. Okay, and like while I'm talking, you can see.
I really can see. I mean, I can literally live it through your eyes.
Yeah, so it was. I think kids should be introduced. I would love to introduce my daughter to the world of trekking and mountaineering.
In Bangalore?
No.
Let them trek across the traffic jam once.
Oh my God, seriously. No, but seriously, I don't think so. I can take her here anywhere. Himalayas are absolutely different than yes,
surreal.
They're surreal. No doubt.
So I can completely sense the joy that a 6th grader actually. Yes. I mean, it probably started so early for you that you experienced it when you were in 6th, that it lived with you. And it lives with you even today.
Even today, yes, absolutely.
So, so you always had this sense of adventure in you, right?
Not really.
Not really.
My father introduced me. I'll say
okay,
that.
So it developed. Let me put it that way. So your sense of adventure over a period of time developed.
Correct.
As much as you say you're a reserved person, you ended up actually hanging out for 10 days with strangers who were beyond your age group as well.
Correct.
Enjoyed meals with them.
Yes.
So I think there were traces of all of those aspects somewhere inside, and the right thing like mountaineering brought it out.
Brought it out, yes. I'll say that.
We'll put it that way.
We'll put it that way.
Correct.
Let's
put it that way.
Let's put it that way. I could challenge myself. I could say that, right? Because it's a strenuous sport.
Of course it is.
It is, right? You are climbing and with a heavy luggage, okay? And you are sweating, drinking, and your knees give away. Yeah, they hurt. And but you know that, okay, you can do this. And when you reach at the top or at the final destination, that feeling, I don't think so you can live it in your day-to-day life. Okay, you can never live that. So I think as a child, they should be rather, I will say that okay, we have a lot of sports here, but trekking and mountaineering is something that will bring them close to the nature, which we do not find in the city life at all. So once a year, I think we should definitely take our kids. And it's not as if we can't take young kids. I have seen, so one time I went to Kedarkantha in 2015 March. Okay, that was a winter trek. And I saw one couple, or rather a family, with 3 kids.
Wow.
One was 6 months old. Yes, 6 months
In
old.
that altitude, don't they say that oxygen is less and blah and blue and don't take young babies?
Okay, well,
I'm asking you because you're the pro here.
I was amazed, okay? I was amazed to see a couple doing this, their daredevilry. But I was like, hats off to them. They are introducing their kids. Yes. And so they had, the eldest one was 5-year-old, then 3, and then 6 months.
Eldest one was 5-year-old.
5-year-old, yes. So they did not reach the summit. They did not do. They did only
2 apart.
But
it's still good, right?
It's pretty good, correct. And they had hired a localite from there who could carry a 6-month-old and a part of their luggage as well.
Okay. So that's how they managed.
That's how. But the lady was cooking. So we reached one campsite, the first campsite, Juda Ka Talab, that's the campsite name. And she was cooking meal as well on the fire and everything, and then feeding the kids. And it was a lovely time. I thought, okay, I never thought, I wasn't married by then, of course. But I
imagined yourself you saw yourself heading in that direction.
Correct.
Nice. So now we're going to move out of that and move into a fun element called the rapid fire round. Okay. So you see there's an app in front of you,
yes,
and there is a draw button.
Correct.
So when you hit that draw button, a random number is going to pop up. And there are some questions that I have related to that number.
Okay.
But you need to answer extremely quickly.
Okay.
Okay. So let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah. All right. Please hit draw. One worst habit that your child picked up from you or your hubby.
Oh, worst habit. Okay. So my husband is a Bengali and he says, "Bhak sala."
And your daughter is now.
And she's like, "Bhak." Thankfully, sala is something that she has not picked up, but bhak. And I'm telling Shayan, okay, what? Stop doing it. Let's not, please. Let's not.
Post child's bedtime, I binge on
Market.
Of course.
US
I was
Market.
expecting that.
Absolutely. Nothing else, boss.
Nothing else.
Nothing.
Yeah. A toy you bought for the child inside you more than the one outside.
Okay, soft toys.
Shayan bought it.
Shayan bought it. Yes, Shayan bought it.
Cute.
For myself.
Your most effective weapon against toddler tantrums.
मैं घर जा रही हूँ. That's it.
तुम अपना करो, मैं जा रही हूँ.
I'm going home. You do whatever you are doing. Keep on doing it. I'm going.
One child-related decision that you and your hubby had to agree to disagree on.
Agree to ear piercing. We are not able. Yeah, but you. How can it be a decision? Okay, I just don't understand.
लड़की है.
He's like कि नहीं इतनी छोटी उसको दर्द होगा. I'm like, she wants to wear earrings, and at that very moment, he ordered almost like 10,
clip-ons.
12 clip-ons.
The moment your child used your own words against you. Aksala.
My words, you are naughty.
Oh.
Mama, you are naughty. Like this, Mama, naughty Mama. She'll keep on saying this, okay? Because I have saw that, naughty Ruhi, please don't do this. And she will also say, please
naughty
don't
mama.
do this, naughty Mama.
The best parenting lie you have told your child which has not been caught yet.
Oh, there are many.
Pick one.
Generally, she wants to either call someone to her house or go to someone's house. And here, as parents, of course, it's difficult. I mean, even though I'm not working as a corporate job, but then others are working. Other parents are working. They want their life after 6 p.m. They have their own child to take care of.
Work-life balance.
Correct. And so who would want to take care of another child? And then I have to say, no, ये यहाँ जा रही है, you know, इसके पापा को ये काम है, इसकी मम्मा का call है, इसका ये है, इसका वो है, and then every time it's a new dialogue altogether.
Okay. So basically the best parenting lie is to be innovative and come up with new ones every time.
New ones every time.
A snack you wish your child liked so you could snack on it guilt-free.
Laddu, ghar ke laddu. She doesn't like it. My mom makes it. And then I eat it. And she makes it for her, okay? Itta dil se, you know, she's like, I'm making it for her and she says
But Ruhi is not a laddu person.
No, I binge eat.
I was just thinking of answers myself while I was asking you this question. I'm like, I have a list.
You have a list?
A phrase or threat you use most frequently on your child.
I will tell Shikha ma'am.
I'm sure Shikha ma'am will be very happy to hear this.
I will tell Shikha ma'am. Okay, so today itself I used it in the morning. So she wasn't waking up. Okay, she isn't. She was late and I said, I'll have to tell Shikha ma'am, okay, that you never wake up on time.
What's the wildest thing you have Googled as a mom?
Wildest thing? Oh my God. Where can I leave my child when I go and watch something? Seriously. So I want to watch the Mandala Murders. This is a new Netflix show that has come, but it is quite gory. And I'm like, oh, as soon as I put on and she'll come running. Otherwise, she would be playing, okay, in her room.
Do that.
Okay, she'll be playing in her room.
They have that sixth sense.
Sixth sense. Okay, as soon as I switch it on, then she'll come and I'm like, I do not want my child to go and see this Mandala Murders right now. And then I'm like, where can I leave her? Yaar? Where?
Shikha ma'am.
Seriously.
A bizarre park treasure your child declared is too special to throw.
Stones. She collects stones from there. I don't know why.
Why?
Yeah. And she washes them, okay, and she has kept it and she's like, these are just stones. I didn't know. Please don't throw them.
They're gems.
They're gems. Then please don't throw them.
Oh, wow. Right. So I actually had a lot of fun doing this.
Same here.
And I hope you did too.
Yes, absolutely.
So as you've been awaiting patiently for what comes next, which you're aware of already.
It's called long-term gratification.
Exactly. With a very small hamper.
See, it doesn't matter what you get.
Correct.
The point is, you get something.
True. Very true. Your hard work of being a mother. And then obviously it comes from the point that I'm also a believer of health and wellness for mothers.
Oh.
No, the whole box is not yours. Not the box.
I thought it's a treasure box, okay?
It is a treasure box.
It is a treasure box.
But it holds a treasure of something that I'm going to give you called...
What is this?
It's called...
Zen Moms. Oh.
Yeah, it's a golden powder, you may call it whatever you like. Actually, honestly, I've not given it.
Face?
You can put it anywhere you like. It's a skin-friendly herbal powder that really does wonders by keeping your skin soft, and it's completely natural and homemade by these
lovely hands.
Because at the end of the day, skin health is equally important. And as moms,
absolutely.
We find very little time. Thank you so much, Namita. It was fantastic having you here. My name is Shobna, and I'm the founder of zenmoms.org, a platform dedicated to the holistic wellness of women and mothers of all ages and stages.